Right now, while you're watching this, something massive is quietly happening behind the scenes of the global economy. The US dollar, the most powerful currency in the world, the same dollar that pays for oil, runs international trade, and backs trillions in global savings, is facing pressure like never before. Governments are moving away from it, central banks are changing strategy, and new alliances are forming. And most everyday people have no idea what this could mean for their money, their savings, and their future. This isn't hype. This isn't clickbait. This is a real shift that's already in motion, and by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what's happening, why it matters, and how it could affect your life sooner than you think. Before we go deeper, take just 1 second to hit the like button and subscribe to Macro Rewind. It really helps the channel grow, and it tells YouTube to share this video with more people who need to hear this. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. For decades, the US dollar has been the backbone of the global financial system. Almost every country uses it for trade. Oil is priced in dollars. International debts are paid in dollars. Central banks hold trillions of dollars in reserves. If you wanted to buy or sell anything across borders, chances are the dollar was involved somewhere in that transaction. This gave the United States enormous power. It could print money, run deficits, and still borrow cheaply because the world needed dollars to function. But today, that system is starting to crack. Let's rewind for a moment. After World War II, the world needed stability. The US economy was strong, Europe was rebuilding, and America held most of the world's gold. So the dollar became the global reserve currency. Over time, even after the gold standard ended, the dollar stayed king because it was trusted. The US had deep financial markets, political stability, and a massive economy. Holding dollars felt safe. Fast forward to now, and the picture looks very different. Over the past few years, the US has printed trillions of dollars. Government debt has exploded. Inflation shocked households. Interest rates jumped at the fastest pace in decades. Banks started wobbling. And on top of that, the dollar has been increasingly used as a political weapon through sanctions and financial restrictions. Here's the key point most people miss. When a country controls the world's reserve currency, it also controls access to the global financial system. If you fall out of favor, your assets can be frozen, your trade can be blocked, your economy can be isolated. And many nations are now realizing just how dangerous that dependence can be. That realization has triggered something historic. Countries are actively looking for ways to reduce their reliance on the US dollar. China and Russia now trade much more in their own currencies. BRICS nations are discussing alternative payment systems. Saudi Arabia has openly talked about accepting non-dollar payments for oil. Central banks across Asia, the Middle East, and even parts of Europe are quietly cutting back on dollar reserves while increasing gold holdings. Let that sink in. For the first time in generations, major players are preparing for a world where the dollar is no longer dominant. This doesn't mean the dollar disappears overnight. There won't be some dramatic Monday morning headline saying the dollar is officially dead. Instead, what we're seeing is a slow erosion of trust, a gradual shift, a quiet diversification away from a system that once felt unbreakable. And history shows us that reserve currencies don't last forever. For the dollar, it was the British pound. For that, other empires held monetary power. Every single time, the pattern was similar. Rising debt, expensive wars, political division, currency debasement, and eventually loss of confidence. Sound familiar? Today, America is carrying over $30 trillion in debt. Interest payments alone are becoming one of the largest government expenses. Every new crisis seems to require more stimulus, more borrowing, and more money creation. And while this keeps things running in the short term, it slowly weakens the currency over time. Now here's where this becomes personal. If the dollar continues to lose global dominance, everyday people will feel it first through higher prices. Imported goods become more expensive. Energy costs rise, food prices climb, your savings buy less, and your paycheck doesn't stretch as far. Even if you never trade stocks or follow economics, this hits you directly. The dollar's strength allows Americans to live relatively cheaply compared to many other countries. It allows the US to import massive amounts of goods and keeps borrowing costs lower than they should be. If that advantage fades, living standards come under pressure. And it's not just Americans. Because the dollar sits at the center of global finance, any instability ripples across the entire world. Emerging markets struggle with dollar-denominated debt. Global trade slows. Financial markets become more volatile. What starts as a currency issue can quickly turn into a worldwide economic shock. We already saw a preview of this when interest rates started rising. Currencies in developing countries collapsed. Governments scrambled. People faced sudden price spikes on everyday necessities. Now imagine that, but on a much larger scale. Another important signal is gold. Central banks are buying gold at record levels. Not traders, not hedge funds, central banks. These are institutions that plan decades ahead. They don't chase trends. When they start piling into gold, it tells you something deeper is happening beneath the surface. Gold doesn't depend on any government. It can't be printed. It carries no counterparty risk. For thousands of years, it's been a fallback when trust in paper money fades. So when countries increase gold reserves while reducing dollar exposure, they're preparing for uncertainty. At Macro Rewind, we focus on connecting these dots for you because mainstream media often talks about isolated events without showing the bigger picture. But when you step back, the pattern becomes clear. The global financial system is being rewired in real time. New payment networks are forming. Regional trade agreements are expanding. Digital currencies are being tested by central banks. Nations are prioritizing self-sufficiency in energy and manufacturing. All of this points to a future that looks very different from the dollar-dominated world we grew up in. So what does this mean for your money? First, expect more volatility. Markets don't like uncertainty, and we're entering a period filled with it. Stocks, bonds, currencies, even real estate could swing more dramatically than people are used to. Second, inflation may remain a long-term issue. Even if official numbers go down for a while, the underlying pressures are still there. Debt levels are massive. Governments prefer inflation over default. That means the purchasing power of cash is likely to keep eroding over time. Third, diversification becomes more important than ever. Relying on a single currency, a single asset, or a single income stream is riskier in a shifting global order. This isn't about panic, it's about awareness. The people who do best during major economic transitions are not the ones who react emotionally. They're the ones who prepare early, stay informed, and adapt. When technology changes, companies that refuse to evolve disappear. When economies change, individuals who ignore reality fall behind. But those who learn, adjust, and position themselves wisely often come out stronger. We're not saying move all your money tomorrow. We're not saying the dollar collapses next week. What we are saying is that the foundation is changing, and pretending everything will go back to normal is risky. Even small steps matter. It's understanding where your money is, reducing unnecessary debt, building emergency savings, learning about different asset classes. These aren't dramatic moves, but over time, they create resilience. Every major financial shift in history created both winners and losers. The difference was knowledge and timing. Right now, most people are distracted by daily headlines, social media, and short-term market moves. Very few are paying attention to the slow, structural changes happening underneath. That's why channels like Macro Rewind exist, to help you see beyond the noise and understand the deeper trends shaping our future. As we move forward, expect more talk about de-dollarization. Expect more countries experimenting with alternatives. Expect more debates about debt ceilings, budget deficits, and monetary policy. These aren't boring technical topics anymore. They directly impact how expensive your life becomes. The world is entering a multipolar financial era. Power is becoming more distributed. No single country will dominate the way the US once did. That transition won't be smooth. Now there will be friction, mistakes, and shocks along the way. But knowledge is your advantage. If you've made it this far, you're already ahead of most people. You're asking the right questions. You're paying attention. And that alone puts you in a better position than those who simply assume tomorrow will look like yesterday. So take a moment and think about your own situation. How exposed are you to rising prices? How dependent are you on a single income source? How prepared are you for economic turbulence? You don't need perfect answers today, but awareness is the first step. And remember, this isn't about fear. It's about reality. Big systems change slowly, then suddenly. We're in the slow phase right now. The signals are there for anyone willing to look. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe to Macro Rewind so you stay connected as these global shifts continue to unfold. And near the end here, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think the dollar will remain dominant for decades? Or are we witnessing the beginning of a new financial era? Drop your opinion in the comments below, and make sure to share this video with someone who needs to understand what's happening. The more people who are informed, the better prepared we all become. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.